Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be presenting my Dream Mirror deck. This deck has some of the best artworks of like the entire modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! It has really some of the best looking artworks. Like this particular card, for example, is just amazing looking. I know there's like a vicious glare on the screen there, but I mean look how nice that looks. It looks like something straight out of Shrek. I mean it looks fantastic. But basically, very fun deck. Has light and dark monsters. It plays like very good with chaos cards. Really interesting deck to play. But let's get right into the profile. When this card is special summoned, basically, by a Dream Mirror card, you can add any, by a Dream Mirror monster, you can add any Dream Mirror card from your deck to your hand. This is like this card literally searches the entire archetype, which is really cool on summon. Second effect, if you have the opposite field spell, so the dark field spell, as you can see here, you can quick effect tribute this card during the main phase or battle phase, and then special summon the opposite level 1, which is the dark level 1, Akilos, the Dream Mirror Mara. So her effect is when she's special summoned, she can summon a Dream Mirror card from your hand, which could trigger that first effect on that card, but also it can special summon with the bigger monsters. So it can't special summon itself, but it can special summon anything else. And then when you have the light field spell, which is this right here, you can quick effect tribute this effect, and then you can quick effect tribute this effect, and then special summon the level 1 light monster, which would be this card right here, which is really cool because you can basically go through all of them in one turn if you play appropriately, but it's really cool. You can basically tribute and then loop out another one. Next we've got the light level 8, which is Morpheus, the Dream Mirror White Knight. His effect is basically that he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects if he's special summoned by a Dream Mirror card. And if you have the Dream Mirror of Joy on field, your opponent can't target your Dream Mirror cards with cards or card effects. They can only target the highest level one, so they can only target him with attacks or card effects, which is really cool because he protects himself. So basically it buys you a turn. And then we've got Morpheus, Dream Mirror Black Knight, which is basically when he's special summoned, you get to target a card and pop it, target a card on the field and pop it, which is really cool. And then his second effect is if you have the light field spell, you can tribute and go into the level 8, the light one. So they do the same thing. The level 8s basically get each other out. So if you have Morpheus, you can, and the dark field spell, you can tribute him and then summon Morpheus, the Black Knight. And then if you have Black Knight and you have light field spell, you can tribute him and summon the other one. And like I said, this is one of my favorites because on summon it pops a card, which is really cool. So that's basically them. I think that's as much as I'd have to say on that. Yeah, I mean, these are all of the monsters. The best two are the ultra rares. So this one on summon is a +1 because you pop a card, and this one on summon is a +1 because you search a card. So definitely the best two are the ultra rares. You can see why. I mean, they should have just made all of them ultra rares. It's all disuniform. It's a little frustrating, but you know, what can you do? Next we move to the other monster cards. We play 3 copies of Darkness Diablos. If you've been paying attention, all of them tribute themselves for cost. All of the Dream Mirror monsters tribute themselves for cost. So easily they trigger this card, whether this card is in graveyard or in hand. You get basically a free summon. And the problem with this deck is it has some trouble putting damage and bodies on board. It does a good job of controlling the game and stalling, but the issue is it does, like, the strongest monster it has is Morpheus, and he's 2800 attack, and like all of the other ones are kind of weak. They're like all the sprites are weak, and the White Knight only has 1000 attack. Like, it has trouble putting damage on board. So definitely a Darkness Diablos is very good for this because it's a free summon during either player's turn, and you tribute during both players' turn, which is really cool. Then we've got 2 copies of Chaos Emperor Dragon because that's the amount that's legal. Also, same thing. It's just free body on board. I would play BLS, but this card is searchable and BLS isn't. BLS is better at this point in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I mean this thing can help like finish a game either through attacking or through its effect. Either way, and then we play 1 copy of Chaos Dragon Levianeer. Now the reason I play all of these Chaos Dragons is because number 1, they all tribute for cost. But the monsters themselves actually don't have a lot of recursion. They're all lights and darks, which is cool. And they don't have a lot of recursion from graveyard, and that's one of their small issues. They have trouble getting themselves out of the graveyard. Like, once you tribute them for cost and summon a new one, like, they're basically stuck in the graveyard. So you might as well banish them because it doesn't even matter. And you go through them so quickly. Like, you go through all of the Dream Mirror cards so quickly in a duel. Like, in one turn, you can literally go through every single Dream Mirror card, which is really cool. And that's 4 light and dark monsters in the graveyard, which meets the qualifications of all of these cards. Also, this does a lot of crazy things. Shuffles a card back from deck, summons a light monster from the graveyard, which isn't useless. And then, of course, the third one, which is the one you'll most likely use, is when you banish both light and dark, and then you can pop 2 cards, which is really, really cool because it's non-targeting removal. It's really awesome. So that is the Chaos Dragon Levineer. Then we've got our first field spell coming up here. Those were all the monsters, by the way. Now we've got our first field spell, one of the best looking cards I've seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, this effect, like I said, it puts a lightning rod on the highest level monster, and with Morpheus, basically it's a turn ender. If they don't have, because they can only target him with battle and card effects, and he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects if he's special summoned by a Dream Mirror monster. So basically, it like effectively ends the turn for your opponent if they're not playing like non-targeting removal of some kind. But yeah, it's a cool field spell. Also, during the end phase, both field spells have this effect. This is the other field spell, the dark one. Basically, during the end phase, you can banish a field spell and activate directly from deck another field spell. This card cannot be ashed, which is awesome, this effect. So basically, you can activate both of those in one turn. So you can, like, let's say you have this on your set of field, you go end phase, activate this, banish this, and then activate this directly from deck. And then you're still in end phase, activate this, banish, and then activate this back out. And that becomes relevant when we'll talk about the trap card, but definitely a pretty decent effect there. They've tagged each other out during the end phase. Then we've got Dream Mirror of Terror, which this card, if you control a dark Dream Mirror monster, you can, every single time your opponent special summons, inflict 300 life points, which is lackluster. Honestly, it is a lackluster effect. But to be 100% honest with you, it's honestly not like the worst effect that it could have been. Like, it would have been nice if you got like a +1 on activation, like you got to search something or recur something from graveyard or something else. But honestly, it's not that bad of an effect. Like, you know, if you're going into time and your opponent has to establish a board just to beat you, it is a pretty decent effect. Because you're sitting on the field spell, you have maybe like Morpheus the Dark Knight out on the field in attack mode. He's 28, so your opponent has to like make plays to summon a monster strong enough, and every single time they inflict 300. It's not useless, and it's not bad with Chaos Emperor Dragon, because sometimes you can inflict a decent amount of damage and then finish him off with Chaos Emperor Dragon through either attacking or through his own effect. So those are the field spells. Then we play one last Mystic Mine. I think any field spell deck should be playing Mystic Mine. You know what? They hit Terraforming because of this card. They hit what's the other card? Metaverse because of this card. So why not just play this? Because just replace it as your copy of Terraforming. So you can search it. Sometimes you can hard draw it. It's a decent card if you're going second because it basically beats every deck that builds a board. And we've got one copy of Terraforming because we can only play one, and we've got one copy of Set Rotation because, again, we can only play one. You can either put out 2 field spells or the Set Rotation. It's up to you. Then we play one copy of 1-for-1. This summons the level 1s down here. Doesn't activate their effects because if you paid attention, they have to be special summoned off of a Dream Mirror card to activate their effects, but it throws them on the field just in case you don't have them in hand. So it's like a searcher for level 1s. Then we play 3 copies of Called by the Grave. This deck dies to hand traps like bad because they tribute themselves for cost, and that is very frustrating. Like they tribute themselves for cost, and I think they're all hard ones per turns. And Ash, remember, if you pay attention, Ash does not negate activation. So if you activate an effect, it only negates the effect, so you can't activate it again. So Ash destroys this deck. You need to play Call by the Grave, 100%. Or you can play the instant fusions with the Millennium Eyes Restrict. It's up to you. Then we play 3 copies of Melody of Awakening Dragons to search the Chaos Dragons and the Darkness Diablos. Really good. Searches, yeah, usually you search one Chaos Dragon, one Diablos, and you can summon during either player's turn the Diablos very, very easily. Because, like, yeah, like I said, it's very easy to summon Diablos because you're always tributing. Then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. You can replace this with, I'd say probably Pot of Desires would probably be the best replacement, although you really don't want to banish your fields. I mean, this deck, you really don't want to mess with your main deck. Like, I don't know if that's the best thing. I don't know if there's a replacement for this. Probably in this particular build, you can play Trade-In, but I don't. If you're not playing the Chaos, yeah, I'd say probably switch this out easily for Trade-In because you're playing 3 level 8s in the, yeah, you're playing 12 level 8, so you can easily play Trade-In. It's pretty decent. But I just think this card is better because it's a +1. So Trade-In is good, but if you own this and play this, but you can replace it, obviously. Then we play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Again, this is a blowout card against a lot of decks in the meta. It is so unfair. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. It's good for breaking boards. It's good for interrupting. Like, this is a broken card. No reason not to play it. And then we play 3 copies of Dream Mirror Fantasy, which should have been a super rare. I mean, come on. It's the only deck that's not hollow. I mean, the only card that's not hollow in the entire deck. This card is extremely, extremely good. I don't even know who in the world this is. Some girl in her pajamas. I don't know what she has to do with the archetype. But again, this card is very good. Basically, you target 2 field spells in the graveyard that are in the banish pile and shuffle them back into the deck, these 2 field spells. And then basically, you can just banish 1 card on the field, non-targeting removal, just by putting the field spells back into your deck. Now remember, they banish themselves at the end phase anyway, and you can banish both of them during the end phase. So basically, if you have one of them, you just go end phase, banish this, and then end phase, banish this. So in one end phase, you banish both of them. You basically have the setup to use this card every single time. And like I said, it's non-targeting, banishing removal. Like, it is such a good card. Because not a lot of decks have this. And then its second effect is that you can banish this card from the graveyard to basically protect one of your monsters from destruction. If one of the Dream Mirror, if a Dream Mirror card you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card. So since it says Dream Mirror card, it can actually protect the field spells, which is really, really cool. But yeah, that is the main deck. Let's go over to the extra deck. Obviously, we're going to be playing a ton of Super Polymerization targets. We play 3 copies of Starving Venom, 2 copies of Mud Dragon, 2 copies of Diplexer Chimera. This is against Marinus and what's left of Salamangrates and various Cybers matchups. 1 First of the Dragons for just rogue normal monsters, maybe Tianwei stuff if they mix it with something. 1 Odd Eyes Vortex. Remember, it's not, you can play one of these Super Poly targets because if you go second, you can activate the Super Poly in standby phase and get around. This is one of my most common things that I say on this channel. Usually you would think Pot of Extravagance and Super Poly get in the way of each other, but what you can actually do is activate Super Poly in the standby phase and then summon one of these, so you don't actually have to worry about banishing one of these cards off of Pot of Extravagance, because the whole thing is you just you activate Pot of Extravagance. No, you activate Super Poly first. If you use away their problem monsters, like for example, you make an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, and then main phase 1, first card you have to activate is Pot of Extravagance, and you activate Pot of Extravagance then. So it's not that big of a deal to play only one of these, because you're basically just using it to break boards anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Next we play 3 copies of Nightmare Phoenix. I don't think you need to play 3 of either of the other 2. The only thing that is usually a problem is if your opponent plays like a Floodgate or something, like Rivalry, or yeah, this deck dies to Floodgates because it is different types and it's different attributes, which is frustrating because it loses to both Goes in Match and unfortunately Rivalry of the Warlords. But you know, you have Nightmare Phoenix just in case, if you can find a way to make one, which is pretty good. And then you've got also the Dream Mirror cards for those. But also, yeah, just generally, I think it's more important to have spell and trap card removal. And then we play 3 copies of Borreload Dragon, because Borreload is in a lot of ways better than Boral Sword because it is non-targeting theft of your opponent's monster, which is really good. I think it's just better in more decks and against more problematic cards. The other card is Boral Sword is better for OTKing, but I think Boral Load is better for the long-term game. Then we play 3 copies in the side deck. This is the side deck. We play 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma, 1 copy of Driver. This is mostly for going second. 1 Pankatrops, 3 Lancia, 1 Scythe, 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum, and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Yeah, you can. There's plenty of stuff to side out, depending on if you're going first or second. Set rotation, Mystic Mine. You can side out. You can even side out the whole Chaos Dragon engine if you really wanted to, and just side in a bunch of like random cards like these if you wanted to, make your life a little bit easier. But yeah, that's it. That is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed this deck profile. Please subscribe. It would help us a lot. And again, thank you for watching.